Hi and welcome to Four Wheels Good, the only weekly motoring programme to run right the way throughout the year. Mike Rutherford seems to spend more time overseas than he does in this country, and this week has been no exception. Mike brings us a report from Barcelona on Mitsubishi's latest model, the Galant. We've also been testing a couple of luxury limos, just in case you've been wondering what to spend your life savings on. And even if you don't go for top-of-the-range luxury, your car is still a huge purchase, second only to your home. And keeping it on the road can eat up even more of your cash. So Eamon O'Neill is on hand to give us a few tips on how to take care of it yourself and hopefully save yourself a few quid into the bargain. We'll also be putting a couple of cars through the ultimate test, a day in the life of a film crew. And our cameras were at Alexandra Palace with some classics that have stood the test of time. But first, Ginny has been testing one of the new generation of Oriental city cars in Rome, experiencing firsthand the crazy driving of the Italians in a car that's perfectly suited to it.
Rome is a city known for its ancient ruins, its stunning architecture, the Colosseum, the Sistine Chapel and of course the Vatican. It's also known for its horrendous traffic problems. And what better vehicle to get around all this madness in than one called a Move.
Yes, Daihatsu's new small city car, the Move, is the perfect car to explore Rome in. Japan has pioneered small car technology. Its high urban population, together with legal and environmental concerns, have made it a necessity, and Daihatsu are one of the biggest manufacturers of this new generation of city car. The Move has been a familiar sight on the roads of Japan since August '95, and with sales of more than 200,000, it's the fastest selling ever vehicle of its class over there.
The Move is a city car, and if you're going to drive a city car, test a brand new city car, what prettier city to come to than Rome? Obviously you've got lots of different sights to see, and the manic traffic that the Italians are famed for. Daihatsu last year sold over 500,000 small cars, and in Japan alone, 470,000 microcars. Now that's big numbers, and obviously they've been building these cars for many years, and the Move is just one derivative of a whole range of small cars available from Daihatsu. In this country we've been traditionally known for sort of larger vehicles, four-wheel drive vehicles, small commercial vans, but certainly we have a whole host of products that's ready and waiting out there to be introduced to Europe.
So, what are the great points about the Move? Well, Daihatsu are keen to point out that it's not a big car made small, but a small car made big. It sounds great, but what exactly does it mean?
A lot of people are now interested in much smaller cars, and I think what manufacturers have done is obviously over the past they've had small cars but not very small cars, and I think what they've done is obviously they started to reduce their vehicles, but obviously if you reduce something there's inherently going to be compromises, whether it's with rear legroom, with boot space, whereas the Japanese for many years have had what they call the K-class regulations, which is what are known as microcars, and what they've done there, they've had stringent ruling that says a vehicle has to be of certain dimensions. So what Daihatsu have done with the Move is maximised the external dimensions by creating a whole new body shape, and obviously it's a small car on the outside, but obviously inside it feels like a much larger vehicle.
This compact exterior means I'm able to manoeuvre my way through the busy Rome streets almost stress-free, and this is the ace up the Move's sleeve. It has almost TARDIS-like properties. From the outside it may not look like much of a load lugger, but inside it's a very different story.
It's much bigger than something like a Ford Fiesta, for example, inside, and the combination of the higher roofline gives you a much greater feeling of space from the sort of shoulders and above. It certainly does feel like you're in a sort of medium-sized small car, rather than something that on the outside is a little bigger than a Mini.
The space, which is easily enough for 4 large adults, and the versatility are the Move's 2 strongest points. The interior features extremely versatile seat arrangements. All 4 seats move backwards and forwards, recline, and also fold completely flat. In fact, by reclining all 4 seats, the interior even offers the option of a spacious double bed. On the downside though, the Move's small wheels transmit every single bump on the road, and at high speeds the Move does feel quite lightweight and gives off lots of vibrations. And what of performance? Well, the Move's 850cc engine produces all of 42 brake horsepower, giving a top speed of 82 miles per hour. And when you're travelling anywhere close to that, it really does get quite noisy. The Move is definitely a vehicle for city driving and not serious motorway mileage. There's no denying that the Move is a vehicle packed with character that's aimed at a very particular market. So who is going to buy it?
I think it could cross all age groups. I mean, obviously in Japan, it's very much the young people have taken it on board because it is different, it is weird, it says something about their sort of style, and there are a host of accessories such as little chrome trims, extra wheels, little sort of body kits and graphics and all sorts of things. Now, obviously, the UK may be a little more restrained in their choice of personalising their car, but certainly it's going to appeal to people who want to stand out. But again, it's a small car, but it's a 5-door vehicle. It's going to be ideal perhaps as a family car as well. Certainly the rear seats move backwards and forwards in the same way as the front seats slide backwards and forwards. That means, depending on what size, whether you've got adults or kids or anything, you can maximise the space inside the car. So it's going to appeal to young families as well. And of course, those older couples as well of, once the kids have left sort of thing, it's perhaps a little way to, regain some of that lost youth that everyone craves for.
I have a feeling it's going to be people with a sense of humour that buy it, I must say.
I think so. Well, I think so. Sense of humour is perhaps a little unkind. Certainly people who don't mind standing out from a crowd sort of thing and are willing to say, look, this is my car and this is what it says about me.
At just over £7,000 on the road, the Move is not only cute, but it's the most competitive small car on the market. And unusually for a vehicle in this range, comes with the options of a 3-speed automatic transmission and the luxury of air conditioning, each at around £500.
I've made it through the hustle and bustle of the streets of Rome, and I've got to the hotel in just about one piece. And this trip has convinced me of two things. The first is that Italian drivers are absolutely barking mad. And the second is that the Move is indeed the perfect city car. It's nimble, it's light, and it's very responsive. And it's also a lot of fun to drive. Now, you will have already decided whether you love the Move or you hate it. It's the kind of vehicle that does provoke reactions in people. But if you're looking for a great small family car that's got a high level of specification and is extremely affordable, then I have to say that you can't fail to be moved by the Move. And that's me corny jokes over with. I think it's time for a nice pizza and a nice glass of Chianti.
A cute little car. I noticed Ginny edited the bit out where she was stopped by the Italian police for going the wrong way down a one-way street. Never mind. After break, an extraordinary head-to-head with two of the most, if not the most luxurious cars you can buy today, the Rolls-Royce and the Bentley. Hi and welcome back to the studios of Four Wheels Good. But as we all know, some wheels are better than others. If you had all the money in the world, what would you splash out on? A Rolls-Royce or maybe a Bentley? Nikki Fox and Eamon O'Neill help you through a very difficult decision.
Out of the dark, the Silver Dawn, courtesy of Rolls-Royce, closely followed by the Brooklands from Bentley. Come cruising in convoy in Two Cheapos from Crewe.
Yes, we did say cheapos. A top-of-the-range Rolls costs more than £210,000. This entry-level Silver Dawn is a mere bagatelle at £118,500.
this bargain Bentley is even cheaper. It's £106,866.25. But if you fancy a spending spree, the flagship Bentley Azure starts with a cheque for £222.5 grand, plus some loose change of £26.20. Sad, isn't it?
In case you're a viewer from Mars, I should say that Rolls-Royce and Bentley are English icons that the rest of the luxury car world tries to emulate. They're both made in the same Cheshire factory, but are surprisingly different.
Think of it like this. My Bentley may be big, but really it's a sports car.
My Rolls-Royce is longer, by 4.9 inches actually, and it's built to impress the Queen, literally. As Her Majesty is known not to be partial to a quick ride, the emphasis here is on luxury and that bit of extra legroom in the back. And of course it's also known as a roller and associated with showbiz types.
Right, what's the Bentley like to drive? Answer, surprisingly nice. It may be over 17 feet long, but once you're rolling, it seems to shrink in size. The power steering and slim wheel make it easy to manoeuvre, and the smart auto box is slick. 60 happens in under 8 seconds. Not hard when you've got 300 brake horsepower on tap. My only dislike? The brakes have a short travel and they feel rather dead.
I'm dead by comparison in the Silver Dawn. This has the same basic engine as the Bentley, but no turbo. It's normally aspirated. The result, well, it's quite quick, but the kickdown is lazy, so the acceleration gives you plenty of time to wave to your fans as they overtake you. But fair dues, it's the legendary luxury ride that's most important. And forget all those old stories about hearing the clock tick, unless of course the clocks of yesteryear were really loud. Up there you can hear it's a V8, and inside the leather creaks reassuringly as you go over the bumps. Yes, it's very relaxed motoring.
What else do you get for your money? Let's put this pair to rest and take a closer look.
I honestly think the Rolls looks better than the Bentley. The grille, mounted by the Spirit of Ecstasy, merges with the bonnet lines and gives the car real character.
Well, I disagree. The Bentley badge is beautiful. Atop the all-important front of the Brooklands, it says, built for the British Bulldog.
But viewed from every other angle, both cars just seem dull.
Whatever happened to the flowing lines of older models? That aside though, walk past this beautiful paint job and step into interior design. Burr walnut veneer with straight-grained walnut crossbanding and boxwood inlay. Under different circumstances, a period piece from Going for a Song. There's no doubt about it. The combination of wood, leather and chrome is superb. Rover and Jaguar might as well give up now. They'll never match this on their tight budgets.
There's something rather eccentric about the switchgear in both of these cars. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just that it refuses to follow the pattern of ordinary cars. A couple of my favourite features, the oil level check, which you can do without moving from your seat, and the daintiest of column gear changes. The funniest thing is down here. Coffee cup holders, but for front seaters only. Presumably, those in the back seat have to make do with a set of decanters.
Not that much room in the back, but terrific seats, a commanding view and the... Oh. Picnic, Alton Park. OK, see you there.
Sometimes this job's a pleasure, although with a car this good, you still have to bow when you open the boot.
Give us a go, Gov.
Oh, trouble.
Think so.
Well, not the first car that springs to mind to take onto a track, but what do you think?
Well, it's certainly not a car that's used to being driven to the limit. I don't think it normally gets outside the comfort zone. My initial impressions is that it feels as about involving to drive as my son's train set. I think the nearest you get to a sweat in this car is when you found out whether your shares went up or down. The real difference between this and a race car is that I feel about a mile away from the tarmac. Obviously in the race car you feel every bump and undulation in the track, but in this car you feel absolutely nothing.
Well, I must say it's very comfortable in the back, a little seasick perhaps.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I probably spilt your gin and tonic, haven't I, the way I've been driving it, or trying to drive it.
impression about the difference between this and the Roller?
Well, I think the RR of Rolls-Royce stands for really relaxed, and this is the B of Bentley, is a bit sportier. At least there's a rev counter on the Bentley, which is more than I can say for the Rolls-Royce, and I can see what the engine's doing. Although my mind's a bit blown away by the fact that at 70 miles an hour I'm only doing 1800 revs.
So how does it compare with and without traction control?
Well, let's try, Nikki. This is a nice slow corner coming up, and let's give it a bit of a boot and see what happens.
Woohoo!
Wow, I like that. That car's got quite good poise. I'm really impressed, really impressed. So here we go again, this time the same corner with traction control. Well, that's amazing. Boring, but amazingly effective. It's also helped by the automatic ride control that keeps the car well balanced through a corner. I think I prefer it with the traction control off, as it's certainly a lot more fun. Maybe not so good for you, Nikki, in the back.
Oh, but I trust you will with my life.
Foolish girl, foolish girl.
That's better. If you're sitting at home having an argument about which carriage you should buy, think about this. Last year, Rolls-Royce and Bentley combined sold 1,556 cars worldwide. Rolls sold just 40%.
And Bentley 60%. The rich have already cast their vote, so if you're aiming to join the top bracket, be a Bentley boy and leave the rollers for the comedians.
Luxury limos on a racing circuit. What next, I wonder? Testing Formula One cars on a school run? Anything can happen here on Four Wheels Good. Mike Rutherford will be with us after the break with his thoughts on the forthcoming Mitsubishi Galant, which was revealed at the Amsterdam Motor Show. Welcome back. You know, our reporters travel the world in search of a good automotive story. Ginny will be bringing us an extended report from Cyprus soon on the updated Jeep Wrangler and Cherokee. And Steve Parker will be here next week with another American auto story. But here's our resident globetrotter, Mike Rutherford, who's found himself on yet another car company private jet for another launch, this time with Mitsubishi.
Well, I warned you a couple of weeks ago, the new Mitsubishi Galant looks very much like the 5 Series BMW. When we saw it on the show stand at the Amsterdam Motor Show, we commented then on its similarity with the German car, and actually on the flesh, on the road, it looks even more like a 5 Series BMW, particularly from the rear end. But this car is as safe as houses. You cannot go wrong with the new Mitsubishi Galant. Already, before it's even gone on sale, it doesn't actually hit the streets or hit the showrooms until April the 2nd, but already it's been hailed as the most cost-effective car in its class. The other thing you've got to remember about all Mitsubishis is that they come with 3-year unlimited mileage warranties. That means that if you're a very, very high mileage driver, if you're crazy enough to want to do, I don't know, 100,000 miles a year, you can buy this car, run it for 100,000 miles in the first year, the second year and third year of ownership, and it will still be under warranty regardless of the mileage you do. And that is a pretty amazing warranty package, let me tell you. If you're still not convinced about the Mitsubishi product, let's also remind you of that recent survey that was produced by Lex, who run and sell a huge number of vehicles in Britain. They've been looking at various cars on the market, and they conclude through their experience that there's nothing more reliable on the market than a Mitsubishi. I mean, we're talking about this car beating the likes of Mercedes and BMW in terms of reliability. The independents say that this is the cheapest car to run. The independents say that there is no more reliable car. And I, another independent if you like, say that the 3-year unlimited mileage Mitsubishi warranty package is just about the best in the business. And the other good news is this new Galant is coming on sale onto the British market at about £1,000 less than the model it replaces. So we've got a far better car, far more safety features, far more modern than its predecessor, for less money than the previous generation Galant. Well, actually, the estate version of the Mitsubishi Galant is not unlike Ginny Buckley in that it's got quite a nice rear end. But it does... Sorry, Ginny. But it does have one problem, and that's the little matter of the badge. Now, the reliability surveys show that there is no better badge. The whole life cost surveys show that there are very few marques that can compete with this badge. The warranty surveys show that this badge is probably top of the tree. But Mitsubishi's problem is this: how do they convince the buyer that's obsessed with badging, with labels, that he should steer clear of his BMW 5 Series Touring, that he should steer clear of his Mercedes and go for this Mitsubishi badge instead? My fear is that as good as the Galant is, people with this sort of money to spare are as keen on the badge as the car itself. There's only one thing that worries me about this car, and that's its long-term future. Yes, for the first 3 years, it's a safe bet. There is no safer bet. But after that 3 years, what happens to a car like this? How many old Mitsubishis do you see on the road? How many people do you know that want to buy an old Mitsubishi? With things like Mercedes and BMWs, it's a different story altogether. So if you're thinking short-term, maybe for the first 2 or 3 years of this car's life, you can't go wrong. If you're thinking long-term, if you're thinking of hanging on to a car for 6-7 years, I'd go for German engineering rather than Japanese. Well, I don't know if you can pick up that engine note. What you're listening to is the sound of a Mitsubishi V6 engine being driven virtually flat out as we accelerate away from that slip road. Very, very smooth indeed, silky smooth, sewing machine-like engine beneath the bonnet of the new Galant. We're driving the estate version at the moment as we go over some very bumpy road surface. And it's sheer opulence really, leather upholstery, got a bit of wood on the dashboard as well, which I'm never very sure about. Wood interiors in Japanese cars don't go for me, but beautifully clear and very precise instrument layout, and really you couldn't ask for more. I'm not sure that you get the feeling that you're in a car that costs this much money. This is well over 20 grand, this version we're in at the moment, and well equipped though it is, great engine though it's got, it's an awful lot of money, but it's the sort of car that really inspires confidence. It's the sort of car that you'd climb into. I could happily drive for the rest of the day and the rest of the weekend across Europe in this car. It's a sort of cruise missile, if you like, a cross-country tourer. And with the acres of baggage space you've got in the back, the perfect family car, really. Well, we're joined by David Miles, the Public Affairs Manager for Mitsubishi. David, we've gone all through the spec of the car, the prices, etc. Let's come back, though, to this question of warranties, because I think it's fair to say that Mitsubishi pioneered the 3-year unlimited mileage warranty. Other people have come in with similar schemes. Now we've got Vauxhall coming in with a 3-year warranty of sorts. How are you going to respond to all these other companies copying what you started?
Well, yes, it's a good compliment, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
No, we started the 3-year warranty, unlimited mileage, and a lot of manufacturers now have a 3-year limited mileage warranty. Some are not transferable, ours are. But it's what we do is we cover the whole range, and I believe Vauxhall, or maybe half their range, is now covered. There's certainly no plans at this stage to extend the warranty. 3 years unlimited mileage we think is fair and still is probably the best warranty in the business.
In America, for example, though, they do extend the warranties, don't they? I believe that some people have gone to 5 years. I mean, that must have been something you've discussed at Mitsubishi.
We look at market forces and see whether we need to respond to it. The difference with Mitsubishi, of course, is it is a worldwide manufacturer and it is a worldwide warranty. So it's really down for Mitsubishi in Japan to make that decision.
Okay. Now, changing the subject slightly, what you've done on the Charisma, the Dutch-built car, the mid-size car in the Mitsubishi range, you've offered free servicing on that. Now how does that scheme work?
Well, that's 3 years free servicing or 30,000 miles. And the reason we've done that, it's driven by market forces in that sector, upper medium. We sell a lot of those vehicles now into the fleet, company car market, user-chooser market. And that is really responding to what everybody else is doing in that market sector. For Galant, it's an entirely different proposition. And as you say, we haven't launched the car yet. We obviously need to take it on board, but it's not something we plan at the present moment.
Mike Rutherford there with the new Mitsubishi Galant. Well, the ultimate test for any vehicle is to be thrashed around every day of its life by uncaring film crews, always late for stories. I feel sorry for cars owned by other TV stations. Of course, our Granada vehicles are extremely well maintained and courteously driven. Well, some of the time.
Are you blessed with a large family of small children or a small business that handles big things? If so, you need our rough guide to 2 roomy top-line estates.
On one side, the long-in-the-tooth champ, the Volvo 960, and on the other, a new contender for the title, the Vauxhall Elite. Both cars weigh in at a hefty 30,000 quid.
The Elite has a sporty spoiler and a straight-line grille for 1997. The Elite V6 is smooth and has traction control, and you could see 140 miles an hour with no holds barred. Useful for those European trips where the limits are a bit higher.
The 960 Volvo can be just a little rough. Woo, no traction control, but it does have winter sport and economy settings, and it is the uncontested champion of load space. Representing most of Middle England, it's a load lugger with a straight-six 3-litre block, and it's good for 130 miles an hour.
We've used both cars throughout the series for filming on the racetrack. They both have good performance and ride, but when you're hanging a camera out of them, they can't stop the rain. Let's put these 2 sheds in a super shed at Arley Hall and take a closer look. A 15th century barn may not remind you of parking on the high street, but the principle's the same. Be careful. Though the Volvo is longer than the Vauxhall, it does have a better turning circle. Just.
To see what we can get in the Vauxhall's load space, start in the back seat. The Elite has your gloves off straight away to remove these headrests. That's boring. Once you're into the potting shed itself, you'll see that this CD player limits the available space, as do the wheel arches, which are disguised by these pockets pretending to be useful.
This I like. Tip the Volvo seats forward and the headrests slip away for an easy transformation. Poke your head in the back and you can see why this car has loads of fans. It's huge. The CD is tucked away nicely under the floor and you can hide the kids' toys under there even before you begin loading.
Come up front and you start to realise why the Vauxhall's a serious contender. This is the new company flagship. Its looks are modern and integrated, and it comes fully loaded. With cruise control, twin airbags, an in-your-face onboard computer, and 4 electrically heated seats in leather.
This is where Volvo maybe has a problem. This is an early 90s example. Just look at the similarities. OK, the outside is rather less flashy and the front is more angular, but inside, the dashboard and the general styling are much the same as today's model. Yes, the new 960 does have lots of extras, but somehow it seems as if they've been stuck on afterwards. The leather's nice and has a traditional feel to it, but there's not even a passenger airbag as standard, although there are some side impact bags for front seat passengers. But safety features alone don't sell cars anymore.
Let's be honest, Volvo's been trading on the safety thing for a very long time, but more recently the company's shifted its general image to more sporting middleweights such as the 850 series and the ultra-quick T5. But in this corner, the Vauxhall is not punch drunk. On the interior, individual aircon and one-touch controls everywhere. On the exterior, good looks and good, solid German build quality.
This one is built in solid, reliable old Sweden. And when it comes to depreciation and second-hand prices, Volvo drivers don't seem to worry that much, mainly because of what's described as the long-term friendship between car and owner.
This is one contest I think I win with a knockout. We pushed both cars hard and OK, they are real gas guzzlers, but when you give them both a hard time, the Vauxhall has more useful power for overtaking and better handling on tight bends. Despite the NAF Elite name, it does have better presence on the road.
Sorry, Volvo. It's true, this is still a quick, desirable and curiously British car in some ways. And its old-fashioned looks and understatement have a certain appeal to the neuroses of the middle class. But in the end, it's high time that Volvo changed its champion and unleashed a new super shed to reboost the Volvo legend. Because in the fight game, there's always a comeback.
The Vauxhall Omega Elite versus the Volvo 960. After the break, how much do you know about your car under the bonnet? And we'll have more classic cars from Ali Pali. Please join us then. This is Four Wheels Good on Granada's Men and Motors channel. Maintaining your car is essential for safety and residual reasons, but it can half hurt the bank balance sometimes. Why not do it yourself and save the cash? Here's Eamon O'Neill.
We all know what a nuisance it can be when your car breaks down, to say nothing of the hole it can burn in your pocket. That's why it's very important to keep the engine well serviced. And that can work out expensive with labour charges now anything from £30 an hour. So can you do it yourself? And is it worth it? At the Royal Oldham Hospital, the staff are very good at looking after people, but can they turn their skills to cars? I've got 3 volunteers and their motors, and they're going to attempt a very basic service. Have you ever done anything with cars before?
No.
Nothing at all?
No.
You promise?
Yeah.
Do you fancy giving it a go today?
Yeah.
So, have we set them a mission impossible? Well, if they can do it, so can you. Although we have given them a bit of a head start. We're going to provide a fully equipped garage, and they've got me to do the shopping for them. Car accessory shops can be a bit confusing with all the products on offer, so you have to know exactly what you need for your car. You can pick up a manual for around £10, unless you've got a more unusual car, and then they can be hard to find, and so can the parts. For Joanne's Micra, the 211 air filter, spark plugs for the Metro, oil filter for the Peugeot. Changing the oil could get a bit messy. We'll need some of these. Okay, I think that'll do it. Those overalls are on, ready for the first task. Anything could happen now, so on hand, we've got 40 years of experience embodied in Andrew Antoniades from Andrews Autos in Manchester. He'll help our three nurses if they have any problems. And first, they're changing the air filters.
At least it does as it's told. Patience does.
Adele, you seem to have reverted to some help from Andrew. What's been the problem?
I'd undone the clips like the book had said, but I didn't realise that you needed to loosen these as well.
Unfortunately, this is the most difficult car of the three. Yeah.
Joanne?
Yeah?
How are you getting on with this air filter?
Fine, done it. That was
You've
quite
done
easy.
it?
Yeah, that
Already?
was quite easy, that one.
Was it?
Yeah, definitely.
How surprised are you?
Quite surprised. I thought it would be a lot harder, but no problem.
Well, you've saved yourself a few pounds already.
Definitely.
Adele's already moved on to changing the spark plugs, but it's not quite as easy as she thought.
How are you doing, Adele? How are you up to now?
Okay, nearly done.
Nearly done.
Yeah, last one going in now.
Is the last one? Before you put them in, have you checked the gap between the electrodes?
No.
So,
All in now.
I'm afraid you have to take them out so you can check the gap between the plugs.
Right, okay.
Sue, can I help?
Yeah, I'm just looking for a spark plug spanner.
Yeah, that's the top of it. And then that goes on there.
Right.
And this goes on there. Like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Let's check the size. What have you done to your hands?
Oh, I've cut it. Cut it there and there. Bleeding to death.
Oh, nurse! Come on in, we're having trouble with the high tension leads on a couple of the spark plugs.
What seems to be the problem?
I've managed to get 2 of them off, but the other 2 seem to be definitely stuck.
Right, there's a little tip for you there. Because of the heat, they get stuck. So you shake and work. Give them a good shake.
Right.
It's the other one.
So that's just brute strength, really?
That's what it is.
Adele's got those spark plugs in again, but where does Susan reconnect the leads?
Well, one good tip here, Susan, is you should number them all the time. You should put numbers 1, 2, 3. When you put them back, you know that they're going back the same way.
They've all done very well so far, but now we're going to cheat a little. They have to change the oil, so we're allowing them to use the ramps.
Well, at home you have to use small ramps to enable you to raise the car slightly higher, to enable you to get underneath the car.
And what would we collect the oil in?
You need one of these, at home, in order to drain the oil there, and when you finish with it, you can seal it and take it to dispose it properly.
A call to your town hall will tell you where your local disposal centre is. It seems it is possible to service your car just by following the manual, but it helps to have someone strong around, and if you're trying it for the first time, someone who knows what they're doing. What did our novices make of it?
I'm quite confident now. I'd like to have another go.
I didn't even know how to open the bonnet before today. Have a go. It's not as hard as it looks. I just can't believe I've done it.
I want to change my occupation. I'll be a mechanic instead.
Well, from caring for humans to caring for cars. People who own classics often spend more time on their precious motors than they do themselves. Here are some examples of much-loved classics from Alexandra Palace. From all of us here, good night.
Right, you've probably recognised the car already. It's the fabulous DeLorean as featured in the film Back to the Future. And with me is Dave Howarth, who's the coordinator for the UK Owners Club. Well, David, how many of these cars are actually still in existence now?
Roughly about 8,000 worldwide.
So obviously there's still quite a few cars going then. So.
Oh, yes, out of the 8,500 originally made, there's still not a bad number really, 8,000 left.
And what are they like to actually use on the road? Because obviously they're a bit weird with the up and over gull-wing type doors, and they look as if they might be difficult to get hold of parts, but obviously you're going to tell me different.
Oh, well, no, all the parts are available from America, because when the factory closed, Consolidated International bought the full stocks, stored them for 10 years, and now they sell them at astronomical prices. But you've got to go over to America.
So what sort of average price are you looking at then? Say about, if you're trying to buy, if somebody's out there trying to think of buying a DeLorean, what sort of price could they be looking to pay? 10,000 plus, or maybe less than 10?
10,000 will get you a decent one. There is one or two available at the moment, round about the 15,000 mark, which are low mileage and really nice cars. That's for the left-hand version. If you go to the extreme of a right-hand, one of the original 23 made, you can be looking at 20 to 25,000.
So a steering wheel on the right side can cost you an awful lot of money.
Well, when you think about it, £25,000 at today's price and the tip for going up, it's not a bad investment. I mean,
there you go. So if you're looking to buy a good car for an investment, the DeLorean could be the one for you. Right, well, there's one car here that's caught my attention when I walked in, because basically it's a car of my past, and a lot of people probably have the same feelings. It's a car, it's not the original car my mother used to own, but she did own one similar to this car, and it's a Triumph Herald 1200. And Peter's the guy who owns it now. He's actually got a bit of history behind it. He's actually owned it for 3 years, but the original owner owned it for 34 years. Well, Peter, what sort of condition was it in when you bought it?
Well, the paintwork was in the same condition as what you can see now. The car had been looked after all its life. The engine bay needed a bit of work done in it. It was beginning to go rusty around the bulkhead, and I had a choice really to leave the car as original as what it was, and say that it was a totally original car with nothing done at all, or tidy the engine bay up, take everything off and repaint it. And I decided to go for the second option, to preserve the car for another 35 years.
So what about the actual value if somebody's thinking of buying one to restore and build up? What sort of costs can you look forward to spending to get one up to sort of, well, maybe not as good as this particular version, but to somewhere near, rust-free, good runner, that sort of standard?
I think it all depends what you start with in the first place. If you start with something that's quite sound, that needs minor restoration, I suppose you could get it done for about 1,500 quid. If you look at something that's got real major rust problems in the chassis, you're probably looking up to about 3.5 to 4 grand before you even start thinking of painting it. So you're looking at realistic 6 grand to get a rusty one back on the road and restored. And that is not really viable, because the value is never going to be 6 grand, so you'll never get your money back.
You've got a nice car and something that people will stop and admire.
You've got a lovely car that somebody would admire, yeah. But there's always a difference between an unrestored one and a restored one. And you just have to have a look and see. You can see by the paintwork, things like that.
Right, well, this is Jeff Butcher, who's the proud owner of this wonderful little Alpine Renault, and it's what actual model is this, Jeff?
This is an A110 dating back to 1971.
And obviously, it's a little bit of a strange vehicle, isn't it? To some people it looks very ugly, but to other people it's just got an attractive line to it. What exactly attracted it to you in the first place?
Well, I've always had a liking for the more peculiar sort of plastic sports cars, and I've always rather fancied an Alpine. And I bought this when I sold one of my Ginettas for more money than it was worth, really, and I thought, shall I put this money in the building society, or is this my chance to go and buy an Alpine? And I think I made the right decision with the Alpine.
So obviously you've had this one for how many years now?
I've had this about 6 years now.
So has it increased in value since you bought it?
Well, prices were quite high in those days. It's probably worth about the same, I would say, now as it was then.
And obviously, do you use it every day as a road car, or do you just use it occasionally?
No, it's mainly a summertime use car. I just run it for about 3,000 miles a year.
And obviously, from a parts point of view and for running its servicing, is it very easy to get hold of parts, or is it difficult?
For such an unusual car, it's surprisingly easy, really. Most of the parts, the Renault parts, are still available, and there are several specialists dotted about the country who can help you with the more difficult items.
And obviously, we can't help but notice the roll cage inside there. Has it got a competition history at all, or not?
Not as far as I know, no. It's that bar was fitted in France, and it had 2 French owners. I've got a lot of the original documentation, and as far as I can see, it was only ever used as a road car.
Because obviously being a glass fibre car, which I think if it did actually, horror of horrors, go end over end, that bar would be quite useful.
I hope it would be, yes, but I'll keep my fingers crossed. I never have to test it.
Right, well, yes, another Renault Alpine, and Tim Jeffries, the proud owner of this one. Well, Tim, obviously this is a bit of a future classic, really, because it's a fairly recently produced car. What year was this actually produced in?
Well, this was produced in '92, and they stopped making them. shortly afterwards.
Yeah, so obviously you're banking on this for in a couple of years' time to turn into a little money earner for you.
If it keeps its value, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Very happy.
What attracted you to the Alpine Renault in the first place? Because I must admit that some of the earlier ones didn't have a very good reliability record, did they?
Well, I'm not so sure about that. I was attracted to the car purely because of the looks. As far as reliability, I believe that they've sorted things out by the time this came out, but personally I've had no problems with it.
And certainly, obviously, as a car, it's certainly unique, isn't it? Because there's not many of them around in the UK. There's certainly a lot in France, but there's not many in the UK.
I understand there's around about 80 in the UK, and obviously I would imagine that that's getting less as more and more cars are exported.
And have you had any problems so far with actually servicing and getting parts for it or not?
No, in actual fact this has got extended warranty and it's still maintained by a Renault dealer. And I'm lucky enough to have the chap that services it is an Alpine fanatic. So, and he's worked on the car since new, so
hopefully if you keep it, it'll be an affordable classic.
Absolutely.
Well, it's the end of the day here at Alexandra Palace. We've actually been round the show most of today. We've tried to bring you as many items of interest to you, including the little models and the other bits and pieces that make up a car show like this. The interesting bits and pieces that people come here to buy, like the little mascots and the little badges that go on the front of the cars that set the period pieces off. And we hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully you'll be watching the show this time next week. So it's Richard Warren at Alexandra Palace in London saying good night.